Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist. We'll be joined with hubby in the next few minutes. When he comes in, I will mute the mic so that it's not, uncomfortable in your ears, because of course the fur baby's got to come too. So today we are going to work on what? I just labeled the live stream more bare, but we can work on the background as well. There's so many things we've talked about, so I will let that be up to you. Hey Wanda, everything look and sound good? Because if so, we are going to get going. I got my reference on my phone just so I have something to look at. All of this still needs to go darker, so if you guys wanted to discuss going darker, we absolutely can. Don't forget to hit the like button, especially if you're already in here. If you're watching on replay, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Awesome Wanda says yep. Okay, so I'm going to get started with the Optima 18 small. I didn't get any birding in last week. I'm learning a new skill, so I spent all my time working on that. You guys will see the learning as soon as I can get it figured out. But one thing Carmen wanted me to mention is, have you cleaned your pins lately? So I want to throw that out there. And just as a very quick recap, this is a leather strap. The white stuff on it is a little bit of aluminum oxide. A little bit goes a long way. I've been using this strap since 2017, and you can see how well it's doing. And all we got to do is take our tip. I gotta be careful because there is sandpaper on this side. Never use the sandpaper. And all I've got to do is a couple of swipes, wipe it off in a clean area, check it. If I don't see any dull gray, the dull gray is Carmen. I just saw Carmen's name pop up. The dull gray is carbon. So if I see any dull gray, it's still not cleaned. Whoop, look at that. It's all nice and shiny. I can use my fingernail, run it up against the tip, and if I don't feel anything giving me resistance, the tip is clean. Don't keep going and going and going till it's super shiny, because then you end up taking off any kind of oxide layer that has accumulated on the tip. That oxide layer is stronger than carbon and helps it where your pin is easier to clean. So there, I remember Carmen. Hey Shirley, hey Sheila, hey Ramona, welcome. Alright, let's get going. So I am going to start at, well, first, where are we going to work? Do we want to darken the head? Do we want to continue where we were last week? Or do we want to work on some background stuff? Let's see. I'm looking. Sorry, I should have been prepared on that, and we can work on tree bark, because I can bring the camera down and work on some tree bark down here at the bottom. So I will let you guys call it. I'm going to lighten this up a little bit, and I'll brighten this up just a tad. There we go. I'll just start warming up my tip. It doesn't take long at all, but we'll be ready to go. Carmen says bear. Okay, but what part of the bear? Do we want to keep working on darkening the fur down on the arm, or work on darkening the head? Okay, Wanda was out of town. Let's see here. You know what? Let's start working on darkening the head. There. And then when somebody wants to do something new, you guys can tell me. Now, I am probably, because of how my easel's set up, I'm gonna have to stand for this. Oh. So I'm gonna have to make sure that I sit down, give myself a break in order for me to reach this. This is a very tall piece. So let me move the light just a little bit so it's not so glaring for you guys. I have my phone. I'm looking at the same reference you guys are. And since I've already got a lot of stuff burned, I'm looking more towards tonal value. I'm actually going to bump down a little bit to 2.5. I don't check my heat too often, but because we're darkening the face, I'm still going to touch down in a dark area. Right now I am the top half of the tip flat and dragging and moving quickly in order to not have any of those dreaded blobs. So right now I'm just getting my groove back on because I didn't burn. Let's see here, get you guys in there. Touch down in an area, pull some heat from my pen. And right now I'm just shading, so I'm just going flat. Going in between some of the fur in order to separate. I'm also looking at the reference photo that you guys are looking at just because it's at my eye line, and I'm just moving quick, making sure to follow the direction, thinning out some of these areas because some of them are a little thicker. When I need to get into a smaller area, I can go up on my edge, so that's just a matter of turning slightly, either left or right. Because I'm standing, I can go left, or I can get into it from the right. I do not want to stand on my head because this board is so big. I do have to worry about that. So this fur right here, let's see here, I can pop up the head fur. Maybe that would help everybody. Let's see here, let's pop it up real quick. I'm looking. This is a lighter version of the reference. I gotta make it go away. There we go. It's going to be smaller because it's a smaller photo. I'll make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. And if I have to move the camera, I can. Now remember, the perspective is off for you guys because you're looking at this from an angle. You're not straight on like I am. Oh, here they come. I will keep my hand moving, but I'm going to mute for a minute. Alright, we're joined today with hubby.
Hubcap.
There we go. So right now I'm flat with the tip and I'm just moving quickly to darken this area. So I'm just running over all the fur to darken it. Going in the direction of the fur. This part of the fur is heading down the face before it turns and makes the curl. So that's what I'm focusing on, just flat darkening, taking my time, remembering that there's some of the grain that darkens first, so I can darken on either side of it, skipping over that grain so I don't have a very harsh line. In some places I do have a harsh line because of the grain, but I can kind of counteract that by not burning directly over it as I'm darkening. And then this for right here at the eye, I gotta grab my phone so I can see. It starts turning in this direction. Because I lifted my pen, I'm going to pull some heat by touching down in an area that I've already burned. And like we were talking about last week, this keeps me from having to constantly readjust my settings, which that in itself is a time saver. We got other things to get through. Let's see here, we're darker here on this layer. So I'm focusing on the base of the fur on this layer is underneath this lighter fur here. So I need to go up against it and kind of in between, and that separates. It also lightens this fur here because you've got a darker background behind it. None of this is black. It may look tonally black, or it may look black in a detailed photo, but then when you look at the tonal values of a monochromatic photo, whether it's in blue or red or sepia or black and white, you'll see colors that you thought were darker are actually the same. That's why I always recommend having a color so you can see where the detail is, but having that monochromatic second reference so that you can see tonal value makes all the difference, because then you know what areas actually do need to go darker and what areas should be lighter, but not based on color. Because red can look like it's really dark just because of the nature of the color, but then the minute you look at a monochromatic photo, you see that the red tonal wise may be the same as the yellow. So if you're having a problem getting your tones adjusted right, because having your shapes in the right spot as well as your tonal values correct is what's going to get you the most realism.
How much have you kept up with chat?
Since you came in then.
Okay. Spence just joined.
Hey Spencer!
Shirley says she came across another type of art that has issues with stop spots and similar issues with pyrography, and she wants to know if anybody cares to guess what it is. Nobody has guessed what it is.
Okay. Okay, so what is it?
I don't know.
No. What is our hints?
It has similar issues with stop spots, and is also similar to pyrography. And so.
Besides ink?
I don't know.
Hold on. I just got the hints. Let me think.
Okay.
Ink has that problem. Especially if you have too much on your pen tip.
Airbrush does too.
Just came across it, which implies a newer technique for her.
Don't say aye.
We ain't going there.
Like I said, Wanda's here, and then you probably already said everybody. Ramona Shear.
Yep.
Okay, so she's here. Carmen, Sheila, Wanda, Shirley, and Spence. Okay.
See, we can already see that it's darkening up. Again, I know your angle is off, so the light is hitting it differently. since I didn't Carmen down below. Okay, the head is fine. Oh, he was okay. I know what she's talking about. Up here needs to be darker. Now you notice I didn't pull heat from my tip here because one, I need the fur darker, but two, I've already burned in this area. So as long as I keep my pen moving, I'm okay. So ink, airbrush. She came across new to her at least. Similar to Pyrography.
Andrea's here now.
Hey, Andrea. Now, Shirley, is it similar to Pyrography in that it occurs in Pyrography, or because the tools are similar? I like guessing games. We just need to make sure we have enough information. Up here is lighter fur, and I'll adjust the camera, so I'll come back here. Down here, continue darkening. I am going up on my edge to get into the smaller areas to darken. Remember, fur and hair go in all different kinds of directions, even if they... Child, you are bumping me.
She's giving you hugs.
Even if they're going in the same direction in general as a group, you're gonna have the fur and the hair going off in different directions. That can be added later. Roxy's pushing up against my leg.
She's giving you hugs. She's
darkening this line to
reshape. She's looking up at you and smiling.
Just smoothing it out and darkening it up. So I'm doing this darkening, but I'm only on 2.5. This also keeps my pen tip cleaner longer because I'm only using the heat setting that I need versus trying to get in there and go quickly. I know how tempting that is. I get the same just want to be done. But I know I'm not going to be happy with it if I do that. So I just have to take a deep breath and keep going with what I know works because I've been doing it for so long. Child? Now we're going to sit on Mom. Mom's working.
Your feet are keeping your feet warm.
She's not even on my feet.
Oh, she's just leaning on you.
She's just leaning on me. She's not even hugging me. She's paying attention to you. Alright, I'm going to pull the camera out so you guys can see directly head on how much we've darkened. And then we'll focus on some lighter fur on the top of the head. Now we can see I have darkened, and I know we don't have a before or after right this second, but I have darkened it. Now we will move up here, which is all the lighter fur. Remember, I'm not putting the shadow that's from a branch across the eye of the bear because it kind of makes her feel like Scar, and that's not what I'm wanting for this piece. There we go. Hopefully that'll allow you guys to see. I'm actually going to bump down to 1.5 because I don't want this super dark. But I do need to get in there and get some darker fur. So in here and up along here, this is darker and going in a different direction. So I need to work on changing the direction of this fur just a little bit in here. This goes lighter and starts turning back. Because these are short fur, it's short strokes, they still need to be burned because there's only certain small areas that are really light. It's darker than it appears. So I am flat, doing the same strokes. I'm waiting for Shirley to give us some.
Ramona wants to know what type of wood you're burning on.
This is basswood.
Okay.
I have it linked down in the description where I got it.
Okay. And Shirley says the techniques of producing the artwork are very similar, and you encounter many of the same issues as pyrography, which surprised her.
Similar technique.
You know what? I'm gonna guess airbrushing because that's what I know. Or, I mean, tattoos? Would tattoos be one?
I mean, so not ink.
She didn't. She never said not ink.
See how much this looks like it lightened up just because around the area I'm burning?
Yeah, she never said not ink. So, it could be ink.
Well, because I'm trying to think what I've compared pyrography to, and ink would be...
We've compared it to tattooing several times.
Yeah, but I don't know why that would be new to her.
Well, I mean, it depends on which lives that she was in and saw. Watercolor, Smith says.
Okay, so I'm turning.
He's also got, like, throwing his hands up in the air. Watercolor. Links. Shirley says smarty pants. I'm not familiar with the smarty pants technique. Shirley.
Trying
it's tattooing.
Oh, okay.
Hubcap was correct.
Wow. Okay.
Brand new year, new hubcap. No, same hubcap.
I thought that was too easy, so that's why I wasn't going with it.
Yeah, we've made that comparison before.
Yeah.
I think that if you have the mindset for pyrography, I think that you could do tattooing.
Except for the big difference is
the canvas.
The canvas, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
The wood isn't jumping around trying to deal with the heat that's occurring.
The wood won't get upset.
Yeah, it's not cussing at me
if you mess it up.
Trying to kick me because
you can't sand down a tattoo.
I went too deep.
Start over.
No, yeah. Definitely harder in those cases, for sure.
But yeah, tattooing. I think if you have
I thought about trying it.
Pyrography mindset, I think that many of the skills would transfer over because yes, you do have to. You do have to worry about a lot of the same things, but I feel like the stakes are higher.
Yes,
you know?
much higher.
That's not something I'm comfortable with.
Oh, I was just talking about trying it on fake skin, which still gives kind of a false...
I would let you tattoo me because I love you, and also if it came to that, I'm sure I wouldn't have a choice.
Oh, no, I wouldn't. No. Tattoos are very personal.
I know.
No. Never push you to get one nor practice.
So
I just grab one of the boys.
Yeah.
They've already got tattoos.
Well,
Let Mom, come here. Let Mom do this to you.
Get Cole because Jess is running out of space.
He got plenty of space.
I think also, for me, if you airbrush, there's a lot of similarity there too, because you have the same problem with blobs. You have to keep your brush moving, otherwise the paint builds up and you have issues.
Yeah.
So I think that that's another skill that can kind of translate over. Ink, of course, is very similar. Pencil, because it's monochromatic, but also pencil, you have a lot of leeway. You can erase, you can smudge and smear. So pencil is...
That's why I didn't guess pencil.
Yeah, but ink, definitely so.
Yep.
Spence has a tattoo that's messed up from someone that didn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
He has an angry face.
Yep.
See? And that's why we don't tattoo. There was a... is it okay if I tell a little story?
Let me... So all I'm doing is doing little strokes. I'm going in between my edge and going flat just to darken in some areas, but keeping it a thinner stroke in places so I can get in between. And I'm trying to change the direction because I was a little off up here. So I'm just dragging in the direction I want it to go. And I can use that I was a little off to my benefit instead of getting frustrated. Just darken it up. Do some of the fur that's kind of in the wrong direction and just chalk it up to its fur. I'm not going to stress over it. I'm just going to keep moving. And the more I build up these strokes, the more I have a better chance of it looking realistic. Alright, so go.
Well, first off, Burl just arrived.
Hey, Burl.
She says no, can't be off. I don't know what she's referring to there.
I don't know.
Says the Virgo. That's what Burl says. Because I think that if you're an artist long enough, this has just been my experience, people come to you for tattoo designs. And people have also suggested, like, hey, you should tattoo. And I've always been like, no, because I'm not interested in that kind of stress. But they have come to me for tattoo designs. And on several occasions, one occasion in particular, the person went and got their tattoo off of my design and came back, and they were all proud, and they showed me the tattoo, and I was like, internally, I was like, oh no, because it was not a great job. But they were incredibly happy with it, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. But it's hard to see like your artwork get turned into a tattoo and done not so good.
Yeah, it's better to have the tattoo artist draw your art.
Yep.
Because then they know what's going on with it.
Yeah.
This right here
depends on the artist. And if Moritz ever sees this, it's not you, Moritz. This was somebody a long time ago. So, because Moritz got a tattoo of the Raven Fox symbol.
Oh.
But he had it stylized. Good for me, Wanda. What do you mean?
See.
Oh, that I didn't like point out that it was awful. Yeah, I feel like
there's a time to tell somebody, and that's not one of them.
It's already on their skin.
Exactly.
And they're happy with it, and I'm not going to take anything away from that. And it's like I think I've got 5 or 6 people walking around with my designs. 7. What people walking around with my tattoos on art that I've designed.
I'm flat right now, and I'm just smoothing out and darkening the whole area.
Wanda says, people who have covered themselves with tattoos are now having them removed.
Some of them.
I mean, it depends on why. I mean, if you're young and you're not, your ideology changes and your tattoos don't match that, then absolutely, And I know I had lots of soldiers who go out and get tattoos when they're intoxicated, and I would say that for those kind of people, I'm not talking down to them, but they were okay with whatever tattoos that they got, even if they weren't great. They were like, oh yeah, that's fine. But I could see later on them wanting to get them removed because maybe they weren't happy with them.
Now when I erase, some carbon is going to come off. It's going to make it look like the burning has lightened. It hasn't lightened, just the carbon that was darkening it up slightly has been removed. So I got to keep that in mind. And because I am burning lighter, it can remove some of the burn. Don't freak out. That's just a reminder you got to go back and darken up some other areas. So I'm using the Vanish 4-in-1 eraser. That's what you're seeing me use right now.
Don't make it vanish.
Mm-hmm. It's one I've been using for years. I really like this eraser.
I like those erasers as well. They're really, really nice.
And then I also like using the Pentel eraser. That does a good job of getting graphite out. If you're using carbon paper, no eraser is going to make a difference, because carbon paper is a petroleum wax product, and when you burn around it, you melt that wax and that petroleum into the grain, so it does not come up unless you're sanding. Even if you burn hot over it, it can still show through. So, probably just got some people mad at me about that.
About what? But
there's some people that recommend carbon paper.
Well, you know what? You know,
I chalk that up to lack of experience.
People who are here and they know.
Yeah.
So Spence says he won't have his tattoos removed. He's 60 and he started getting them in his 50s. That's interesting.
Darkening.
I'm coming back to you, Wanda. Burl. Burl says, I have the dreaded... What? Cold.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, she's got the cold that's going... Sometimes I have trouble reading chat because there's a emoji block in the way, so I have to look on Val's screen. Yeah. Sorry you're sick.
So let's darken this up, so I'm just going flat, moving quickly. Just darkening up the whole area.
Wanda says the artist's personal. There seems to be something like a copyright issue for someone to be wearing another's art.
There can be copyright issues with tattoos, and I'm not overly well versed in, because I don't do tattoos. Yes. Taking somebody else's art and having it tattooed is still a copyright violation if you don't have permission for the original artist.
But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Wanda, but yeah, I think you're talking about like big corporations who are telling people that they can't have the art on. She had said something like that they're silencing these people. But I think that in the worst case scenario, and we won't get into that, but a dystopian future where Disney comes around and like removes your limbs because Mickey's tattooed on them, I mean, I don't know how far we are away from that. That's pretty extreme, but you never know. But 20, 30 years ago, we wouldn't be having that conversation. So.
Alright, so we have darkened. It is darker in person. I'll back out the camera so you guys can see. It also starts shaping the head more. There you go. See how it is darkened and it's starting to shape the head more. Even though I went over this area, it still looks lighter. And this has really got highlights going on because of... What?
So Burl says, thanks to hubby for sharing the cold with her.
Oh.
Spence goes, Burl, that's love. And Burl says, well, right now, he can take his love. Anyway.
I know where she's going with that.
Yeah.
I'm looking. This still needs to go darker, but it's harder to go darker when I don't have everything else behind it in, because everything works together. And because I'm on YouTube, I tend to jump around even more so than normal.
Every time you say jump around, I just hear House of Pain.
Yeah. Let's see here, because like here, we have...
Everybody jump around.
A fuzzy background. I went darker on this tree that's in the back. So I need to bring up more of the darks within this tree because it looks a bit off. Some of it's going to be cast shadow from the bear because it would make more sense having some cast shadow. I'm darkening the tips of the fur here. I'm just dragging flat, dragging into the fur, because this is fur we would see less of in the bright sense. It's further away from the light because the head is going to be protruding over it. And I know that can be hard to take a 2D photo and visualize, especially if it's not showing so much in the reference, a 3D concept. But right here we would have, so our light is coming in from this direction, which is why this area is lighter. The nose protrudes, the ears protrude, even though the top of the head protrudes out. So there's less light that is hitting this fur here. So this fur is too bright. It can be lighter, but it's still too bright because it doesn't have any kind of direct sunlight hitting it. So this fur overall, what you're seeing in the reference photo is me just cutting it out, so there's a bit of a halo around the fur. So that's why it looks like that.
Look.
What?
Look at I was petting Morgan. Look at my hand. Look at my leg. It looks like I have a mohair pair of pants on. Spence says we all hear House of Pain now. As it should be.
There we go. We'll go back to this reference because we can see again how much darker, because we're further away from the photo, we can see tonal value better. You can pull out the chat and you touch down in a burned darker area. Go flat. Oh, and don't forget I did lower my temperature so I can up my temperature here. I'm going to have to sit down here in a moment. We're going to probably have to move down because adjusting the easel takes some separate moving of things.
Shirley says, I saw a large leather purse that a man made with a tattoo of a lady in another country, and he was trying to decide if she would sell it. That's copyright stuff.
Yep.
And 90% of the time, the answer is no. Because you can get in trouble. And I mean, in the old days, before the internet, the odds that that person would see it were incredibly low. But now...
And the odds of them finding the artwork was low.
Yeah, but now the odds are extremely high that person would trace it back. Would they have a problem? You don't know. It's always best to contact the original owner of the artwork if you're going to do something like that and get their permission. Their express written consent.
We talk about that, but this comes up with the conversation that you and I had the other day.
Yeah.
And that's different countries have different copyright rules.
Oh, I know.
And we fail to think about that, so it does depend on the country. That object couldn't be sold here in the U.S. if it was a U.S. artist that they stole the art from, but could be possible in the country they're trying to sell.
Right. In those cases, like, I think it's best to defer to common sense.
Talk to the artist.
The most restrictive thing is like to talk to the originator of the artwork and get their permission, but make it express written consent that, so that you can have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
I've had my work stolen.
I've had mine
Valerie's
stolen
had her
too.
work stolen. It's something that, if you do art, somebody eventually is going to steal your work. I saw mine in Iraq on a blanket. I was shocked. And I don't know how that person got my art, but clearly because, I had posted my work on the internet, it was one of my wolves,
Mm.
and I saw my wolf on it imprinted on a huge blanket, kind of like what's on our bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The velvety blankets.
yeah.
That have,
So from I think it was being sold in Iraq, but I think it came by way of India or one
China.
of those other countries that's over there, and it's shocking to see. I also had my work stolen by the Army, but I didn't have any recourse there because I was also property of the Army.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a leg to stand on.
Nope.
But I had painted a mural out in Iraq, and that mural turned up. I found it in the PX in Germany on a mug that was representing the unit that I painted the mural for, but it's been commercialized and turned into a mug design. So
Yeah. Well, when you created it for the
Army,
in the Army for the Army, they
they
are the copyright holders, not you as the artist.
Carmen has a phone call. She needs to step away. Burl says, "Can you imagine the NFL, Disney, Marvel finding a trademark tattoo on somebody's body?" And yeah, I wonder if they'd have to amputate. Burl says, "Yeah, that's."
No, the artist would have to pay them
Yeah.
for. They 10 to 1. What they would do is it would be ordered that the money made from that tattoo would have to be turned over to whoever the trademark owner is.
So Spence says he's seen a guy with the same tattoo as he has. He knows it was the one he had because he took a drawing and changed the head on it. Then there it was later on a young guy. So
That's why if you're getting a tattoo that's been customized for you, you watch them tear up the art.
Unless you're okay with
And
it.
then it can still be, they can still redo it from a photo, but
That might be a conversation to have with a tattoo artist.
yeah,
To
it is.
say, hey, do you like this? Do you think you're going to use it again? And if the answer is yes, make it clear, like, hey, either you don't use this again, or how about I license this to you, and in return,
But if the artist-
maybe you give me a cheaper tattoo.
But if the artist, if the tattoo
What's the
artist is
matter?
the one who drew it, they are the copyright owners. Even if it's a commissioned piece where you have told them, I want this, 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 and this, the artist is the actual person who produced it because you can't copyright an idea.
Yeah.
Therefore, the artist retains the copyright in the States. I'll say the States because I know Spencer's in BC. But here in the States, the artist retains the copyright. Therefore, they can replicate it. They can do what they want with it. Even if it's a custom piece that you paid more money for, there might be a little bit more of an argument if you paid more money in order to have that artist create it. But if you didn't pay more money and them drawing it is part of the tattoo process that you're paying for, then they own the rights to it and they can do with it what they want.
So, Wanda says about Spence. I think it's about Spence. He should have earned the royalties.
Yeah.
Spence says it was a free drawing and it was his first tattoo.
Yeah. Alright, so I've gone darker there. We have less of a halo. I'm going to have to cut in more with some of the darkness of the trees to better define. Oh, that was my foot dog. To better define the groups of fur in between. Because remember I did, I think I didn't remember, I did some sanding right here. And I need to, hello.
Morgan's saying hi.
Better define in between these groups. Because right now it's looking blurry right here because there's no separation of details. So I need to tighten up in between some of the fur And in tightening up in between some of these groups, it is going to start looking more detailed and less blurry. But if I leave it like this, it's blurry because there's not a whole lot of definition in between the groups. So keeping it on a lower heat, even though this is really dark, it will still burn. I can go through and reshape some of these groups, and that will bring the fur back into focus. Now remember, you guys are super close to this piece right now. I mean, the camera is only
inches away.
Yeah, less than 4 inches away from the actual board. And most people aren't like me, so you're not going to be viewing this piece this close. I say not like me because yes, I do get right up on a piece to look at it. I'm looking for certain things. So I'll admit that. But most people don't. So I'm flat right here, going. We'll just darken this section so you can see. Going back and forth. I got to remember there's grain right here, and you can see the darker areas darkening up underneath.
Who is Dennis the Carbon?
Her husband.
Okay. He spoke with Pat this morning. Dennis spoke with Pat this morning. Pat kept him on the phone for over an hour.
I want you. Anyway.
Burl says only an hour.
Carmen's getting an Optima. Woohoo! He is gonna feel the difference.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, it's a super, super secret club. You will feel the difference.
You sound like a tobacco commercial.
Well,
difference.
You know
feel
what?
The satisfaction.
Let Burl tell her. Let Burl tell her. Burl went from razor tip to Optima.
Yeah.
And she's in Canada, so I'll let them two discuss. Because yes, when it comes to wood burners, I 100 absolutely % admit that I am biased, and that's because of my 19 years of experience and thousands of dollars spent.
Burl says, you're going to love it.
Yep.
But I have to say, I really appreciate how lively chat is, so thank you. It makes my job interesting and fun.
I gotta get some. There's halo right here, so I gotta get up on the tip. I know my hand's creating a shadow in front of the camera.
Yeah, it's mostly your hand. I mean, you can see where your burner is.
So I'm using the top half of the tip. I'm up. And I'm just trying to get in between using the oval stroke. This helps get in between small areas and in between grain. Like I have a strong grain line right there, which is fine in general because this is a tree. So it just helps lend to the texture of bark, but it's also supposed to be blurry. And I'm trying to separate the groups of fur from the tree. So I'm just going in little strokes. And I'm going between flat and then just a little bit, not up on the edge, just a little bit. So basically, looking at it, it's gonna, it's like left and right leg or foot coming together into a V. And I'm using a bit of the right foot flat to get into those small areas in between the grain and the groups of fur to separate.
Spence, all I was saying, he missed what I said because he had a commercial.
Oh. I try to cut the commercials down as much as possible, and on replay there will be no more than 4 because I pulled all the other ones out, and they have like 20 plus. There should be no more than 4 commercials total if you're watching it on the replay.
All I said, Spence, is I appreciate how lively Shad is. It's nice when you guys are talking. It makes my job more interesting. When nobody's talking, then you don't have much to comment on.
Yeah. So like right here, this can go darker in between these groups and this grain right here. So I'm up on the tip, but I'm flat, and I'm just going in between the 2 grains to darken this up. And get in between the groups. I know it's a really small area, but let's back out and see. I'm looking at how you're looking at it, and it looks a mess. In my brain, it looks a mess. If I back out and just relax my eyes so that they're not overstrained, it is less than a mess. And see, you guys are seeing it darker than it actually is in between the 2 groups there. So let's back it off. How somebody, if it was in a gallery, pretty much this will be the closest that they would be viewing it in general, because they don't like you getting up on the work. So now we can look at it from this point of view, so we can focus on what needs to go darker, because I can see right here this needs to go darker, and I'm looking at this reference, and then I'm looking at the camera of this, because a camera, although it sees exactly what's right in front of it, our brains process it different. That's why if you take a picture of your work as you're going, it looks different. Not only is it smaller, but your brain has to look at it in a different way in order for things to make sense. So always take pictures and look at it from different angles, and more things will stand out to you. So I know tonal wise, I can see this needs to go darker here, and then leave a little bit of light, go up into here. This may not need to go much darker. The ear still does. And don't forget, you guys have light coming in from this way from my ceiling, and then my light here, my work light. That alters how the camera sees the piece overall, because I'm almost at a 90-degree angle straight up and down with the piece. On the easel part, but light and how it hits our wood burning changes how dark or light something appears as well. So I put my pen down in order to back out the camera and back me out, because sometimes I get a little too close. No, all the time. So I'm going to go flat, running with the direction of the fur, doing shorter strokes because this is still shorter fur right here, and just darkening up the whole area.
I saw that your Christmas present finally got here.
Mm-hmm. They put it on the counter.
Yeah.
I figured we would discuss later. Alright, so darkening up, following the direction of the fur. See, I'm looking at the camera, that still needs to go even darker. Look at the reference. This is the darkest area. And I haven't lowered my heat, so I have to move quickly. And flat, burning in the direction of the fur. And anywhere that's lighter is going to actually read lighter because I'm burning around it. Let's see here. So in person, this is darker than what you guys are seeing. I'm looking and picking a place, because everything's got to go darker. Touch down dark area. We can darken some of this for here. Because I've already got my landmarks down, they're already burned in. For me, I don't need to look at the pattern reference anymore. Now it's a matter of going and adjusting everything. So in general, I won't be looking at the detail photo anymore. I had to adjust this eye, bring in the nose, so I needed to look at the color photo there in order to see that. But if I don't need to make adjustments, I won't be looking at the colored piece, the photo. Let's darken that. Because that's gotten really dark right there, which is fine. I just need to bring the rest of this dark down. I'm going to go ahead and bump down to 2. I'm up on the edge and the tip. 1, because I'm standing further away. And 2, it just runs good across the wood. And it's easier for me to control. I know we started talking last week about being comfortable with your pens. That goes along with this. It really does. The more time you spend with just a couple of pens, and you build up that muscle memory of, okay, I know when I use this pen, I can get these kind.
That's supposed to be.
What are you doing? You're not watching the chat?
That's because the chat wasn't moving.
Oh, I could see it moving. You just weren't saying
They're
nothing.
talking to each other.
Oh, okay. Alright. So I'm on the top half of the left foot, getting a smaller or thinner stroke in so that I can get in between these groups down in here. Try to be a little looser, because I do know I can get a little too regimented with my strokes, so I'm trying to loosen up. See, like right here, I'm doing a bit of a curve stroke up on the edge of the left foot. But that created a curved group of fur. And off here on the edge, I can get a little bit more defined fur edges because it is the edge. It still needs to be.
Wanda says she's had to put the bear aside for the moment. It was too much to try and finish before the 22nd of February.
Yeah.
She's doing a couple other things for the competition.
Oh, good. Can't wait to see.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. She's going to get some ribbons.
Yes, she is.
Spence says, with a little bit of muscle memory, I think he's asking the question. Correct me if I'm wrong, Spence. Will the little bit of muscle memory come back that I built up before he stopped?
Yep. Just give yourself a break and relax. The more you do it, because you've already built it up once, when you come back to it, it will be easier because you did have that base memory, muscle memory going on. And I can't wait till you get started again. You and Burl and Wanda's working away and Carmen's working away. Let's see here. See, that's really dark right here. So I need to put it dark in a couple other places. Just the base. Because I do see I got a little bit of blobs going on there from before. So instead of trying to sand and readjust, I just need to do some darks in more areas. Then it was done on purpose.
Spence says that's good to know.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Might take a minute or two, but you'll be ahead of where you were when you first did it. Just be kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then also, for those that maybe aren't aware, so Wanda's explaining which works that she's doing instead of the bear, which is her grandson, a piece called the Panther. But Wanda's going to be entering the wood carving show.
No, Desert Woodcarver show. Yay! I always want to see more pyrography in the show. See, I feel okay. That's why I sanded, because I needed to bring up the fur because of this line right here. I can actually separate. So right now I'm on the right foot, more flat, dragging in between, trying to create some more groups. If you've got something you feel you messed up on that you can't fully get rid of, if you do it in more places, then it's no longer a mistake. It's no longer an oops, because you're now making an artistic choice to continue it. Bring up this.
Spence says I got rid of my desk and he's redoing his art area. So hopefully he'll want to do more.
Oh, good.
And Ramona just started woodburning again. It's been a long time, but she loved doing it.
Well, welcome back.
And how much longer are you planning to go? You have done an hour.
I've done an hour?
Yep.
Alright. So, that we don't have to spend next week the first 5 minutes going, what area do we want to work on? What area do you want to work on for next week? I mean, because the whole thing needs to be worked on. Do you want to focus on the tree? Because the tree, especially above the head and down here along the body, is just as important, because the bear and the tree are what are interacting with each other. So this needs to be just as detailed as the bear. Everything else behind it, or even in front of it, which everything in this piece is behind, that's all blurry, and just getting the tonal values right and the shapes right, it's a matter of doing that and moving on. But the tree, because it's interacting with the bear, it is a main part of the photo. That's what the bear is interacting with. This tree is just as important as the bear herself. So, I mean, I've said a lot about bear fur in the last couple of months. Even for public lives, there's multiple lives for the bear fur. So do we want to work on getting the tree done? And I am gonna, I think I'll spend 1 or 2 more days doing what I've been doing digitally, and then I need to jump in and start really burning to get this finished in time for the end of February. This may be the only thing that goes. I don't know that I'll be able to get anything else done before that. I mean, I've got things that are halfway or what have you, but
I think that it's wise to focus on this, you know what I mean? And not try and put too much on yourself.
Especially since I want the end of the table.
Well, one thing that I learned from my last art competition is that if I had just submitted one, I might have had a shot at People's Choice, because there was a lot of people that
You've got People's Choice
at the Center for the Arts.
Oh. Yeah.
There was I had submitted 2 paintings for that show, and People's Choice, it split the vote because there was a lot of people that voted for one or the other, and then as a result, the one artist that only submitted one piece actually ended up winning because she had more votes for her one piece. So in competitions in the future, I will probably only be submitting one piece if there's a People's Choice involved.
Yeah, but I like it.
Unless I don't care, like, if I'm just trying to get publicity. Carmen says, well, let me go. So Spence says the fur is really coming alive.
Thank you.
And Carmen says the tree looks blurry. Should it be?
This part of the tree should not be blurry. It's just I've got things blocked in. Everything behind this tree, yes, it should all be blurry. But this tree that the bear is actually leaning on should not be blurry, because although her head is in front of it here and here, the body is more equal to it in this view here. So this part of the tree absolutely needs to be just as detailed as this part of the bear. This back here is just background filler. I do need to darken it, but none of this should be in focus. It should just be shapes of different tonal values, and that's what I'm working to build up there. I mean, there's this right here, down here, you see shapes, and that's just because this part's raw wood and this part's got a very light burning on it. But down here, even when we get all the way down here at the bottom, this area here is also blurry because it is behind the tree. So it's on a different plane, and although it's in our eyesight, in our eye line of the piece, it has less definition. And right now all the lights that you see here, because if we look at the reference down here and how I put it together, because I added this part to the actual photo because I needed to break up some areas and give some interest. All of this is actually pretty bright white. It's just in different shapes. So, because the sun is hitting this directly, just like it's hitting along the tree here. But all of this needs to be in just as much detail as this, because they're on the same plane. So if we look at this piece, when I'm saying plane, let's bring it up. So I can, one, the camera's not in a bad place, so I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to grab 3 pieces of wood. Alright. So sorry, baby. I am so sorry. She laid right behind me. Alright, so we got plane 1. We have plane 2. And we have plane 3. And we can make just the piece of wood 4. So each plane, so everything that's on plane 4 is going to be the blurriest because it's the furthest from the camera. The next plane, plane 3, will also be blurry, but maybe it'll be, say, a little darker or a little lighter, but still blurry. Plane 2, it's gotten a little closer to the camera. I'm going to put this down. So we see things a little bit more in focus, but it can still be blurry just to give more depth to the piece. But plane 1 here is the closest to the camera, so everything on this plane is going to have the most detail. So if part of your animal is on plane 2, you would burn it so there's detail, and then as it's wrapping around and curving, you get a little less focus, a little less detail, because you've got a 3D plane going around. So plane 2, it can still be in focus, just not as detailed and in focus as plane 1. Now, did I just confuse everybody, including myself? No, I'm good. I'm still good. Didn't confuse myself.
So, I'd like to add something. So, a lot of times, I think artists, maybe your instinct is to put everything into focus, to make everything sharp. And there's a lot of artists that do that. But in doing what Valarie is saying, you're replicating what the human eye is doing.
Okay, hold on, please. I just put on autofocus, and that's gonna...
Okay.
Sorry, continue.
Alright, so people see pictures and they're like, well, that's how a camera works. But actually, the camera sort of replicates how your eye works. When you look at something at different distances, your eyes focus automatically so that it seems clear. But when you're actually looking at something, if you continue to look at whatever the subject is, this other objects that are further or closer away, they are out of focus and a little blurry. So as an artist, you can direct the viewer's attention by not only by creating like more contrast and more detail in your subject, but you can also direct the viewer's focus by making the other areas less detailed, which does two things. It brings focus to where you want the viewer to be focused at, and it replicates what the human eye actually does.
I moved the camera because I've got things in the distance. I have autofocus on, so right now the camera is focusing on the bear in my hand. But as you look, see, and the camera moved because it was refocusing. But as you move your eyes along the right side of the screen, do you notice as it gets further back, it is more blurry? Mm-hmm. That is what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So those are the different planes. Here's plane 1. The gray board and behind is plane 2. The wall back there, that would be plane 3. And everything is out of focus because this is what the camera is focusing on right here. Now I could get the camera to focus back here, and in doing that, let's see if I can get it to focus.
I think you'd have to move the center of focus. You'd have to move.
Yeah, I can't move the center of focus for the camera.
Yeah. So.
I'm trying to get the camera. In doing this, if this is my main subject back here, this should go out of focus, but because I'm in such a small area, that's harder to do. If you're in nature, it's easier to get across.
Yeah. I think I get the point.
Yeah, I can't get trying to... Come here, camera. Maybe I need to turn. Maybe this will help.
Carmen's looking forward to receiving the Optima. Wanda loves hers. Pearl says she has 2 Optimas.
Let's see here. Did the bear go out of focus? I'm trying. It may be too enclosed of an area for me to get the... Oh no, the bear did go out of focus.
Yeah, just that I'm watching them live. So.
Yeah.
Burl says it's all in depth of field.
Yep.
F5.6. Okay. I feel like that's a camera term.
It is. I don't have like this is a webcam, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm going to take off the autofocus now, that way we're not bouncing around all over the place. There we go.
We haven't got any answers on what people want to do next week.
Okay, well, if you're watching on replay, let us know. I think maybe we'll focus on the tree. That way I can really start nailing down the tonal value of the bear. I got to get the tree in because the tree is so much lighter that just darkening the tree is going to darken the head. Although this all right here, let's see here, going around, all this needs to go darker. And I'm looking at the same screen you guys are. Well, not the same screen, but smaller so that I can see it better. Alrighty.
Spence, you have a good week. He's got to go.
Alright. Well, we will work on the tree next week. If you're watching on replay, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. And just because I need to get it into the atmosphere, if you haven't cleaned, a reminder, if you haven't cleaned your tips in a while, clean your tips. Now say it with me. You're awesome. You can do this. Why? Because you're a pyro artist. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. I was off. Happy birthday, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Say bye.